influenced by the golden era of rock, soul, jazz, and blues. What does that mean for you?
You know, since a very young age, I was exposed to so much great music. Thankfully, I grew up with two older brothers that had really wonderful taste in music and were also vinyl record collectors. So it was sort of like growing up in a library for me. Between the two of them, they had most of the genres covered. So starting at a super early age, I could listen to Howlin' Wolf or Muddy Waters, or I could listen to John Coltrane and Miles Davis, or I could listen to Bob Marley or Bob Dylan or Traffic or Joe Cocker. My first love was soul music, the Four Tops and the Temptations and Wilson Pickett and Otis Redding and Aretha Franklin and that sort of stuff. When I discovered rock and roll, that led me down this path of traditional blues, because all my rock and roll heroes had worshipped at the altar of B.B. King and Freddie King and Albert King, and so I was constantly moving backwards and discovering all this great music. Each of those genres kind of has its own golden era, I think, but with rock music and with soul music and with a lot of music, somewhere between 1966 and 1973 was pretty amazing. If you go back and look at how many wonderful records were made during that time period, it's quite impressive. And if you go back to 1955 through 1965 for jazz, that was a great period, and a great period for blues as well. I just feel like I was fortunate to be force fed a lot of great music as a kid.
Do you still listen to all that now?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm saturated with new music, I always go back to something timeless. I can always listen to Otis Redding or Ray Charles or Bob Dylan or even Van Morrison or Traffic or something like that. It always has a way of pulling me out of whatever funk I might be in.
You mentioned new music. Do you pay attention to new music?
I try, but I'm behind the curve, I would think. By the time I discover something, everybody else has already heard it. But, I'm always looking for something new and exciting. And I do feel like there's kind of a new wave of young musicians and young artists that are more excited about and true to their craft than maybe in the past 10 or 15 years. I was starting to lose hope for a while because it just seems like everybody was very trendy oriented. And now I'm starting to see young bands and hear young artists that care in the way that they want to be around for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years and not just worry about being noticed right now.
Any names spring to mind from that group?
Well, Celisse Henderson, that is on our new record, she's fantastic. I'm sure there are people that I'm forgetting about, and obviously this guy Billy Strings, who is now a huge success. That's only happened in the past few years, and the first time I heard him when he was still on his way up, I was like, wow, this guy is really good. I hope he goes places, and of course he did.
I want to ask you about what albums you've listened to in your life. What would you say if I had to give you like 10 seconds to decide your favorite album of all time?
It could be the chess box of Willie Dixon, because it's kind of cheating, because there's a box set of Willie Dixon songs as recorded by all the great blues artists, B.B. King and Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters and Elmore James and Coco Taylor and Otis Rush. And so that's a way of having a bunch of great artists in one setting. And similarly, there's a box set of everything recorded by the Miles Davis Quintet, which was Herbie Hancock and Ron Carter and Wayne Shorter and Tony Williams and Miles Davis. That's one of my favorite bands of all times. I love everything that they ever did. as far as rock music, I really love the Little Feat Waiting for Columbus live record. And of course, I grew up on the Allman Brothers at Fillmore East. It's probably not fair for me to pick that, but that's still one of my favorite.
You can pick that. I think you can pick that.